Welcome to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane. Starring Ryan Rash
I have zero problem admitting when I'm wrong, like that one time I got married.
and Dale Hummel.
Work hard, stay honest, deliver.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Just before we jumped on here visiting with our producer, we were discussing Ryan writing a book.
And again, I don't think it will be allowed to be sold in the autobiography
We
section.
can put it in the back room with the covers in the front that you see in some of the airports.
No, they'll think that I'm lying and put it in fiction, and it won't be fiction. It will all be true.
It would be interesting. Very interesting. Well, you were missed yesterday. We had our annual FFA tours, the chapters heading to Indianapolis for National Convention. I think the largest single day number of FFA kids through here we've ever had. So I appreciate the turnout and those that took time to visit. It was enjoyable to get to visit with those of you from pretty much all over the country. Ryan, at one time, you can imagine this. I think we had 7 charter buses here at once, and we do not have enough room for that.
No, you do not.
No, it was a little bit of a traffic jam, a little bit of a mess, but it was a great day. Good. I'm a little wore out. My voice is gone from giving the tours, but it's okay.
There you go.
Your president, my president, all of our president has had a trip into Malaysia, Japan, South Korea, maybe it sounds like China, maybe North Korea. He's busy, very busy.
Yes.
Well, the government shut down. So
I was going to say, the government shut down, and they're not going to do anything about it, so it's fine.
It doesn't seem to be slowing Trump down at all.
Nope, not at all.
So his trip to Malaysia kicked off, I guess, in Malaysia. Everything seemed to go extremely well there. And what about the lady, the prime minister in Japan? I think she's kind of hitting on Trump a little bit.
I did not see it, but I heard about it, but I did not see it.
She seems very impressed with him. Willing to give him $550
How could you not
billion. Be? I'm not arguing that. He did get a pledge from her for $550 billion worth of investment. So that's pretty impressive. Very impressive. Doesn't he meet with, we're recording on what is today, Wednesday?
Yeah.
The 29th, I believe Trump meets with Xi today, I think.
Think so, yes.
I'm
pretty sure it's today because some news alert I got right before we got on here said that he was caught on a hot mic talking about his upcoming meeting with Xi, but I didn't get to see what it said. But
I hope it was nothing terrible.
Well, I mean, we're still all alive, so it probably wasn't anything that caused nuclear war.
I hope that's a big meeting. That's huge, but the stock market definitely was very favorable to his meetings, and it appears as though things are going really well. Anywhere from the rare earth minerals to just getting more investment for the U.S. So far, it's been a phenomenal trip. I hope it goes well with China. I do not like China. I've not hidden that ever, but I understand where Trump is, and he needs to get along with Xi in order to make progress.
This shutdown that you don't want to talk about,
it doesn't exist. Trump's getting shit done. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. The Democrats have voted 13 times in the Senate to keep the government shut down. 13.
And aren't they claiming because we're letting Obamacare expire or something insurance-wise expire? It's not even shutting down a bill. It was due to expire at this time. I have no idea what it was.
I don't care what their issue is. They need to look at the polls because their compadres on CNN are flipping out. It
seems like they're being very forthcoming with the polls and this not going well for the Dems. Is that to try to convince the Dems to open the government back up?
I think that's what they're trying to do. And for people that don't understand, because there's 53 Republican senators, so you would think that this would be easy, right? No, you have to have a vote of 60 for this. So 7 Democratic senators have to vote to uphold the clean CR so the government can open back up, which we're on day, 22, 23, I'm not sure, whatever. And this was I think the clean CR that they were trying to whatever, like it only went through sometime in November. Well, here we are. So I don't even know what good that does anymore. But this is a mess. Like air traffic controllers aren't getting paid. And the reason I know this is because y'all's favorite human being, Shrek, she flew to California the other day. And she decided that she can't fly home.
I believe you're embellishing the story.
No, I'm not. No. They're actually driving home from California right now. And the two reasons is because air traffic controllers are not getting paid. But the bigger reason is whoever she sat by on the plane to California was reading Arabic, and she's convinced that terrorists are in all the planes now. Like we're having another.
That is just
9/11.
a bit racist, you know.
You don't know the real Shrek. That's not that's the least racist thing she's probably said in a while.
My.
Yeah.
Now, Daddy James does not like to fly. We have to add that in there for full transparency.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, he drove to California. She flew, and now they're driving back. I also had to mention to the crazy lady, your car's at the airport, but.
You're going to have to take her to the airport to get it.
I ain't taking nobody. I'm going to be at the Louisiana State Fair. I'm busy. And if she thinks this is going to keep me from flying because somebody was reading some Arabic next to her on a plane, she's lost her damn mind. But that is how I know air traffic controllers aren't getting paid. And since I do question her facts at times, I did look it up, and that is true.
Yeah, some of those that are required or what they would consider required for governmental function and the U.S. to function continue to work without pay. Our USDA inspector and others in the government that have federal jobs that aren't necessarily, I don't know if you're going to term them required or not, but they're not working. But guess what will happen once the government starts back up?
They'll get all their money.
Yeah, they will get paid for the time they didn't work. I'm not opposed to that, but it doesn't seem fair to those that are working. I believe some of those may even get double pay that worked through this or have in the past. And I could be completely confused. So don't put a lot of weight into that. But it doesn't seem right to me that some are not doing anything. Others continue to work. Yet when the government reopens, they both get paid the same. It's
very, very interesting.
We could talk about something much more entertaining.
I just... Like, I don't think this is going to end, though.
I don't see any urgency in it. I believe they said food stamps were going to expire or run out pretty soon.
November 1, yeah.
That's going to impact a lot of people.
It's not going to be good.
I don't know where they're at on military pay.
40 million.
That's
40
a lot.
million people.
What about military pay? I know they covered it for a short period. I don't know if it's still going.
Because that rich guy gave them 130 million.
Yeah, but I don't know that goes very far in the military world of pay.
130 million is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but I think we have a lot of people in our armed forces.
But
so I hope for the sake of those things that the shutdown comes to an end. But I don't see any progress being made whatsoever. And if the Republicans are going up in the polls, why would they make efforts to change it? They're going to hold their ground. And Democrats seem as though they're not moving at all, no matter what people say or think. So I'm with you, Ryan. I see no progression. I see no end to it.
I also think it's funny that this whole Biden auto pen deal, it's getting real. Like this investigation, all this stuff, it's getting pretty serious.
It has some traction.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the auto pen was used? Not that he was cognitive enough to even understand, but pretty much without.
I don't even think the man knows what an auto pen is.
No, I think he's totally gone. Totally gone. And I see on social media occasionally on a reel or something to pop up with him giving a speech. My problem now with the AI taking over things, I have no idea what's real and what's not. I can tell the bad AI, but the really good AI, I don't think we know.
Y'all, it is
that's been concerning me.
It is increasingly more difficult. That's why I don't ever send you anything until I've seen it, like on what I consider to be reputable sources, not just on Twitter, because Twitter is the AI universe of the world. X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
I
That's
tend
like
to send
the
you them
AI
before,
mecca
before
of the
research.
world.
I send you things before I research them.
Yes, I'm very
detailed.
well aware.
Some of them are very good. Well, this 3I Atlas, the monster comet, that has given me difficulty. I'm trying to research it because everything that I see on social media, one post convinces me that this thing is an alien ship. The next post says it's a comet. I'm convinced of it. And there's 1 in 10 million chances it takes this actual route, but it did. And totally confused with what we're dealing with. Have you heard anything about it?
Nope.
Not a thing about 3I
Just
Atlas.
from you.
Nothing. Well, I'm going to give you a short history on this. I've had several people text me about it. This is if it is a comet, if it is a spaceship, it doesn't matter what it is, 33 billion tons. It's huge. It's unprecedented in terms of size and mass for a comet, for an asteroid. It goes beyond what we would normally see. So that increases the statistic chances of it being something else. It has industrial grade emissions. In other words, we have vapor coming off of this thing that you wouldn't normally see in a comet or an asteroid. More so a man-made device is the best way for me to simplify it. Non-gravitational acceleration. So if we have a comet or an asteroid, they're playing off the sun's gravity, the different planets' gravity. There's forces out there that naturally are going to pull it in, slingshot it around the sun to get somewhere else and all those things. But we have this particular object, we will call it. It appears as though it's making an unexplained path that doesn't calculate very easily to be anything other than something that has a propulsion type device attached to it. And then the trajectory that it's taking, basically doing a pass by on most of the planets in our solar system, I don't have the odds in front of me, but statistically, it was near impossible for that to be anything other than a navigated object. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't know that we've ever discovered something that, statistically speaking, from a strictly science standpoint, defies just about all the odds of explanation for a comet/asteroid. So now do you believe in it, Ryan?
I didn't. So what are you saying? If it's not a comet, it's not an asteroid. What are you saying?
They're saying it's
You're not
UFO.
speaking English.
They are saying it's a UFO.
Who is
Some are saying a UAP, whatever you want to call a manned. I don't know if it's manned.
A man is saying it.
A human-made, a man-made, an alien-made object.
Who is saying that this is a UFO?
You have one person, not that I'm a fan of the Ivy Leagues, but you've got a Harvard professor that's come out, along with many scientists are coming out, and they're not saying it's a UFO, but they're saying the odds of it being a comet are less and less every day. Mm-hmm. They're not coming out. They don't want to jeopardize their career, I'm assuming. And some are saying this is an alien ship of some sort. There appears, and because of AI, I do not know for sure what to believe. I've gone on chat, I've gone on Grok, I've researched just from every angle, and I can make a case for it being a comet, an asteroid, or an alien ship, depending on which direction I want to take. There's that information out there. Some of the videos that you see light being emitted from the opposite side of the ship from where the sun is hitting it, there are things that are impossible to explain if they're accurate in my research. I don't know what, that's my difficulty with AI. I don't know. I cannot tell what's real and what's not. And there's so much on social media about it that it's difficult to sort through. AI always, whether it's Grok or chat, they take the more conservative approach, and they will come out and tell you statistically, this is a hard one to wrap your head around and explain. So
is it headed for Earth or what?
It's as close to Earth as it's going to be today or tomorrow, and then it does a lap around Mars or something, and it will be close to us again. But it's supposed to be close enough that we can tell a lot more here in the next couple of days.
But it's not like crashing into the Earth. It's somewhat. So then why does this even matter?
It is not crashing. If it was going to crash into the Earth, it would be the Earth would no longer be, period. That's large enough that, terrible event would happen. So I don't know. I don't know. But the pulsing signals, basically the slide I was telling you about, it almost looks like an internally generated light from the object rather than a reflection. And it appears to be pulsing in certain signals that have a pattern to them. So if that is true, there is no other explanation. My problem is that I can find cases saying that from very good sources that these pulsing signals do exist, and there are other sources that say they do not. And I don't know what to believe. I would like to know.
Well, there you go. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating, and it could be
It's fascinating.
Yeah. So I was telling you about the Harvard professor. So they do a Loeb scale rating. This is basically a viability, I assume, of it being man/alien made. And on that rating, there's a 40% chance that this is some type of tech object or tech origin rather than just a bunch of metal floating through space. 40% is pretty good.
There you go.
What about Mandami? You're a communist in New York.
I don't think there's nearly enough people upset about this. I am extremely upset about it.
I believe it's a good thing.
How can you think a communist winning mayor of the largest city in America is a good thing?
I could give a rat's.
See, this is when people his liberal tendencies show. He tries to be a conservative.
No.
He cusses Trump, and now he wants a communist to be mayor of New York.
I do want a communist to be mayor of New York. I wouldn't have a problem with one being mayor of Chicago, which I think we almost have. Does this not bode well for the Conservative Party by putting a crazy like that in charge of New York and making that the poster boy for the Democratic Party? So I'm sacrificing New York for the greater good.
Oh my God.
Does that not make sense to you?
What if it goes the opposite way?
That would be a problem, but it can't. It's impossible. There's nobody outside of New York or Chicago, maybe Los Angeles and San Francisco, maybe Portland. The most radical extreme cities are the only ones that could accept this. The rest of the world's not going to put up with it.
It just bothers me to know.
Don't you think that using him as an example of where the Democratic Party is going, that has to help the conservative cause?
I cannot believe that this man is actually going to get elected. Like
he's going to win.
Me.
There is nothing changing that. He is going to. He's up by, I think, at least 10% or more in the polls over Cuomo.
Oh,
yeah, Cuomo's lessened the gap, but I right now every single poll has Mandami winning.
I mean, they're doing everything they can. They found an interview that his mother gave when he was 21.
Doesn't matter.
Claiming that, like, she went on record saying that her son is not American at all, which, but they're still going to elect him. So yeah.
So you've got gambling parlors, betting markets out there, and they're anywhere from 80 to 95% chance of him winning. So you do not want to bet against him if the odds and statistics are correct that the gamblers are using. If they're betting their own money, they're looking pretty close at it.
Ugh.
It's bad. It's bad. I mean, you're not a fan of Cuomo, right?
I would take him over this fool.
If it was my state he was governing or my town, I would as well. But for the better good, I'm okay with a communist running New York. Everybody's going to flee that has made any money. Your tax base goes to zero, and it becomes the poster child of what we don't want to do.
Yeah, you keep
somewhat like Illinois.
Illinois
is going to be sacrificed over time.
Next.
Is that all current events? I think we went a little long.
Sure. Why not?
Well, I would like to talk about ShowFresh H2O. I'd like to remind the stock show community that hydration is the most important factor you can control in the final 48 hours before hitting the ring. Why take a chance on getting show stock to drink when ShowFresh H2O may solve this issue at a low cost? Look at it as an insurance policy that has the lowest premium and greatest return in history. You can pick up ShowFresh H2O at your favorite show supply trailer or farm store. Orders can also be placed at swampfox.com. I would like to extend a huge thank you to ShowFresh H2O for their continued support of the junior livestock industry. Time for the main topic. the title that you texted me this morning,
Mm-hmm.
Clash of the Species.
Mm-hmm.
That is not very detailed.
Well, then you come up with the titles from here on out.
I could not. I even thought about this one. I had nothing. 0, 0, 0.
Exactly.
So, Clash of the Species, Ryan, you want to explain what we're going to attempt to explain?
I just thought that Dale does not like this topic, and so I like this
it because
topic. And that means when I like a topic, none of you people that listen like a topic, and it gets no traction. So it's fine. But I get to do one of these every once in a while because, by God, I talk about a lot of stuff on here that I don't want to talk about because I think it will help you people. So I get to do what I want to this time. Anyway, I thought it would make an interesting discussion, and I thought that it would also make for interesting listening to go through and talk about how judging the different species is different, but more importantly, how it's perceived. Because I think the way judging different species is perceived is actually not anything like reality, or it's not my reality for sure. And
remember, we don't consider you the norm. We do not.
And again, I think I state on here and state it shows all the time. Every judge is different, all this other stuff, but like I can only go from what I've talked to people about and what I personally know from myself as a judge. And I don't think that what people consider or perceive to be the truth about this type of thing is very accurate. So that's what I want to talk about today.
I'm in. I can do this. I'd be happy to listen and share just a little bit. I assume we'll be a little different, but I really don't know.
There you go. Well, and when I brought this topic up to you on Sunday or whatever, I'll ask you and I'll ask you again. Tell me what species you think is considered the most difficult to judge.
I can do that. And I think I can take it both directions. Historically for me, and it's changed over time. When I first started judging in college, and I think for several years after college while I was coaching judging teams, it was always the easiest, or it came to me the easiest, whatever species I was the most engrossed with or in the trenches with, whether I was helping families with hogs or cattle or whatever it may be, whatever I was focused on at that time seemed to be the easiest. Maybe it was because I was the most interested in that specific species. I can't tell you the reason, but whatever I was the most engrossed into was that. However, that has changed over time. And I would say the past 5 to 10 years, for sure, the past couple of years, the most difficult to answer your question would be the market lambing. And when I say that, I'm not saying I don't want to judge market lambs or anything like that. But when you have a group of sheep out there, at least at a jackpot or a more competitive show, at the more competitive shows, we'll say, all of the top end have enough muscle. So we toss that out. All of them have so much leg wool that you've got to watch them on the move to determine what that skeleton's like back there. And when they're running them into the ring, that makes it a little more challenging. And all of these factors combined, I feel, and maybe I can't quantify it well enough, market lambs would be the most challenging for me to sort. It doesn't fall together as quickly. How is that for an honesty?
Okay, that's your opinion. I said, what do you think people perceive is the most? And I agree with everything you said, but I think that people perceive goats as the hardest to judge.
Yes, there's no question on that. I apologize. I was not listening as usual, but there's no question that every multi-species livestock judge or even single species livestock judge that I talk to, that is even when they're coaches coaching for judging contests or officials or whatever it may be, there is no question the consensus is people are the most uncomfortable judging goats.
Right. Okay. So we agree on that. I think talking to different judges, talking to my friends, talking to people, whatever, all this stuff, that is what, when the subject comes up, that's what I get more than anything. God, I don't know how you judge goats, or man, goats seem like the hardest, all this other stuff. And I am going to go on record and say emphatically, without question, goats are the easiest species to judge by far, at least for me. Now, like I said, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, it is without a doubt, no question, the simplest to judge.
I think you can qualify that easily.
And the reason why is more than any other species, there is a definite top, a definite middle, and a definite bottom. Like, it doesn't matter what size of show.
It just falls apart as fast as they walk in the ring.
How important a show it is. There, in every single class, there is a definite group of goats at the top, a definite middle, and a definite bottom. And like you said, for me, we would not even have to get the thing stopped, and I could already like pull and have them lined up, and then I could probably go through and handle them and move them around one more time, and nothing would change. But like I said, I can only speak for me, but I think that is the reasons why, is that it is such a contrast in between the really, really good ones. There's a definite middle ground, and then there's a definite bottom end. That's why it's so simple for me. But I think that I'm out there alone on this.
See, I am with you, but I have to, obviously I'm more engrossed into that and looking at goats every day. So it may be in part that, but I'm with you. There's more differences. And I think one key factor that you just didn't come out and say, you're being too kind. You sort on skeletal build and movement more than most across species. And right now, there's train wrecks from a skeletal standpoint in the goat ring, period. And that for you makes it easy, where other people, when we get this big old wide chested one that comes in that funnels back to a narrow ass, and everybody's talking about we need some more chest width, even though they're outside themselves, the judges get confused. Do we accept this screwed up skeleton and call it good? Is that what goat people want to do? Throw out the window what you think goat people want and sort them like livestock and make them better built. We've got ourselves into a train wreck with these goats outside themselves up front. And when that elbow pocket's flipping out there, and it's not hard to see, people, not hard at all. And more times than not, they're wider up front than behind. And that's wedging the wrong way, in my opinion. I probably am quicker, outside of my gay friend here, to beat those kind. And I've watched those win time and time again. And they say they're acceptable up there when the judge knows damn well that they're not. Most of those judges see skeletal differences. They're giving the goats a pass because we've tried to open them up and power them up so much where we are a train wreck up there. And I will beat those, even if they're really good in a lot of other areas, because skeleton is so bad. I don't think we need to continue to sacrifice it. And I think that is what makes it, in part, very simple for you.
Probably. Just
like you say, hogs are easy because they're on the move and you can sort them on skeleton.
I also think that in general, and this is going to sound dumb to a lot of people, and I'm okay with that. I think another thing that makes judging breeds or different species easier is when there is a variation in color. And goats, there is variation in color. Like, I'll be honest with you, I have judged the Santa Gertrudis Junior Nationals a couple times now, and they are all basically the same shade of red, and they're all pretty much solid red and all this other stuff. And so, like, when you're in those situations, at least for me, I find it like, I don't know if I don't want to say it's harder or more challenging, but like, because there is no great variations in color, like maybe I just get bored. I don't know.
I can help you with this. And I wasn't going to bring this up until you confessed here. I thought you would give me a hard time about this. Just like you're talking about those Santa Gertrudis cattle in the ring, I think what you're seeing, or what in your mind, when you have a variation in color and one comes in and there's 15 following it, you form an opinion, good or bad, and that one's got a dark head or a light head. It sticks in your mind. You can find that one again very easily in the ring. When they're all the same color, you're maybe having to look at a showman's shirt or something beyond the animal, and that's not natural. It doesn't. You're trying to evaluate the animal. I wasn't going to bring it up. If I find myself spinning in a circle sometimes, it's when I've got a competitive quality class of Duroc hogs that come in because of what you're saying. All the same color, more difficult just to when you have one come through that you like or dislike to identify where did that one go, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And like I said, I don't know what, and maybe you're exactly right. Like I can attach that the black-headed goat needs to go like 5th or whatever like that.
In your mind, that's forming, and when they're all the same color, it's not happening.
Yeah, and then this is a very good point, because that's like when all the kids are made to wear the same T-shirt. It drives me crazy. It literally drives me nuts. And I get that they try to make it more fair or whatever, but like then I'm sitting there like because I always use like shirt colors or whatever on my wherever. I'm like, the girl on the turquoise shirt. Oh, well, everybody's got a turquoise shirt on today, so that doesn't work. Next.
No, and I don't think I've ever openly talked about this. I've never heard people talk about it, but that I can remember all the way back to this was a very long time ago. I was sorting a sale and show, baby pig sale and show in Indianapolis. I think Willoughby had sponsored it, and you've got 20 little red pigs in the small ring, nobody driving them, other than no individuals driving each pig, a person in there to stir them. And I'm telling you, when those pigs are the same color and about the same size, obviously you can see differences, but it's hard to go back. You find one that you think, well, this one is going to be in the top end, and 3 seconds later, the whole group is stirred and it's gone. And it makes it difficult. I think the fact that you mentioned when one comes in, say the black-headed goat comes in, each animal, when it comes to the ring, I have formed an opinion if it's going to be towards the top of the class, the middle of the class, or the bottom, more times than not. It's already that animal's already found its place for the most part. But when they're all the same, I've got to go back there and almost do that again, if that makes sense, just to locate them.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And then I think it's even more difficult for you the way your mind works. When they come in, you almost have a specific place for them, or pretty darn close to it, and then you have to go find them again because there's no identifying color characteristic that just is easy to see from a distance.
Right. But so I always find it funny, like we're getting well off topic, but it's still on topic. But anyway, I do find it funny that like most people think goats are the hard ones, or they're the most uncomfortable judging goats. And I thought you brought up a real good point, like on judging teams and stuff like that. I get more questions about that from kids that want to be judged. I don't know how to judge goats. What do I do? All this other stuff. And I think it's just by far the easiest.
And I think, Ryan, if they would quit, I think their problem is with other judges that I talk to, or coaches or contestants, is that they're all trying to figure out, they will stop by here and ask me, well, what are your priorities in goats? What are you doing? And I tell them the same thing every time. And if they could understand this simple thought process, if you sort them just like any other livestock, don't try to figure out what you think a traditional goat breeder wants to do or what they want. Sort them like livestock and you're going to be fine. Guess who the committees are on these judging contests? They're livestock people. Sort them like good livestock as you would any other species, and you're going to get through it just fine. I can assure you that our success in the goat world wasn't because I ever figured out what a traditional goat person wanted a long time ago, but rather Craig and my wife convinced me that we just need to sort them like we would livestock and quit worrying about what we think a goat is supposed to look like. Does that resonate with you at all?
Oh, yeah. And, going further with that, I think that's great advice. And you can use y'all's story as an example. You weren't goat breeders and you didn't reinvent. I mean, you just decided that this is what y'all were going to do and how you're going to do it. And you've had great success. I get questions all the time about, how can you, what's your favorite species judge? How can you judge them all this other stuff, yada, yada, yada. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing or what, but no matter what I'm judging, whether it's breeding or market or what species, my priorities don't change. They just don't. Like I have them set in my mind and I know what I'm going to do. I do think that it is important to stay up, with whatever you want to call it, the current trends or stuff like that in every species. And I do that for sure. And, there are some differences that we'll talk about within the species on things, but my priorities do not change if I'm judging a hog show.
Sir, you did not follow the bowling ball trend in the goats. You did not.
No, I did not.
So don't lie to me that you follow the trend.
I said I keep up with the trends. That doesn't mean that I'm
aware of the
right. It doesn't mean I go for it. I said I keep up with it, but my priorities don't shift at all. And like I said, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's just how I work, and it seems to be okay. But moving off goats and going back to your sheep deal, I could not agree with you 100,000 million% more, and I never say that, but I think and I'm going to say this, and the sheep people are going to get mad and upset, and it's fine. I don't enjoy judging sheep as much as I enjoy judging the other species because of just what you were saying. And I love the kids regardless, and I still have a good time. But I'm just saying I don't enjoy judging sheep as much because and the biggest reason is I think there are more structural issues in sheep right now than probably any other species. And that's my opinion. Nobody else's, my opinion.
To the point that you can't find the top end you feel comfortable with because of that, to qualify your statement, I believe.
I think it is much harder at any sheep show to go in and have your priorities, have in your mind what you want to do, and be able to find something in every single class and stick with a pattern and be consistent. That's why I don't enjoy judging sheep as much as the other ones.
And it's not hard to find the body shape, the muscle, all those things are pretty much present. What's difficult, and you tell me if I'm off track here, but for me, there is so much leg wool on these things when they're propped up and just standing there. We didn't see them on the move. They've done a nice job of fitting the top.
Everybody's carved it to where it all looks perfect.
It does. And you have to look a little closer. And sometimes there's so much leg wool you cannot see through it. But when they go to move, you're probably going to get there. But guess what? It's harder to catch some of those soft pasterns because that actually helps flexibility on the move. But it just makes you study them much harder. And then when these kids are running them into the ring, I'm going to call them guilty that this one's not built right and isn't going to move well. That's why we're running, and you're going to get beat. How's that for honesty?
No, and like judged a sheep show this weekend, and the reserve sheep I thought was really, really good sheep, but he had like not much shaggy leg wool. And so when he won that class, I talked about how everything I liked about him. I said, I'm going to be the first one to tell you that there's a lot of y'all standing out here that are going to say this thing's too frail. I said, if you'll actually look at the size of his foot, the size of his actual bone, I said, that is not a frail made sheep. I said, he does not have 6 inches of leg wool.
We don't look at the foot and the actual size.
Right. I said, if he did, none of y'all would question this thing being up here at the front, but he doesn't. And I'm still going to do it. And so, but yeah, if you actually look at the actual foot size and stuff like that, then you better off, you are better capable of making a determination of, is that just one being shagalicious, or is that one actually a decent size, boned and footed individual, all this other stuff. But, and I think that right there is part of it, a lot of it, because they have them carved out so well, all this other stuff, that on the stop, it looks like everybody's perfect structured.
It does. That they all look. You can't just, when they're all propped up, you can't just pull them in on skeleton, because you're
No.
right. The top end's going to look good, but
Well,
wow, does it change when you go into motion?
Well, and like the sheep and goat show that I did on Sunday, I'm pretty sure I did not, other than walking the class in and then walking them around a profile, I didn't walk anything again in the goats. And I would say in the medium wools, I think I walked like the top 5 or 6 in every class again after we got them on profile, just because of what you're saying. You see what I mean?
No, I do. And I commend the breeders for putting that. It's hard to breed that much leg wool. We're trying to breed more leg hair on these goats all the time. I commend them for that, but I think it's almost been a disservice, because with that much leg wool with somebody that can fit well, you haven't had to breed for feet and legs as much, because we could cover up some of those problems. And I think it's done a disservice to the bigger picture. And again, I'm not trying to be critical at all. You're breeding for what sells and what wins, and those big legs win. I do believe as we move forward, those that tame those big legs down just a little and make them blend and make them look a little more natural, you're darn sure going to get along better under me, and I would think some other judges as well.
And then the only other thing that I will add on the sheep side of stuff is, if I'm not in, and I'm going to make 90% of the country mad here, if I'm not in Texas or Oklahoma and I'm judging sheep, predominantly almost all of them are too fat for me.
No, I think even in Texas and Oklahoma, they're too fat. But
oh no, I gave them a speech in Texas, in my home state, this weekend but like, it is better here than it is in the other states. But I mean, I just told them, I said, y'all gonna hear it all day, and I'm hell bent that these things are gonna be leaner. I said, I may be the only person, whatever, but you're not gonna win under me with this. And so, but I do not think the masses think that sheep are extremely difficult to judge. I do have a real funny story about when I was on the judging team. We were getting ready for Kansas City, and we had been lectured, preached, and it beat into
the timeout.
minds.
Don't you pick on Dr. Skaggs. Do not.
No, I'm just saying, lectured, preached, and beat into our skulls that there was no such thing as a fat sheep in Kansas City. No, it was not possible. And so we go up to this class, and I'm like, oh, that one looks fat. Like, really fat. And so, like, before we could walk in and handle it, I like walked around the front, and it looked like it had like an Angus heifer brisket on it where its chest was supposed to be. I'm like, that one looks really fat, but there's no fat sheep in Kansas City. And so I'll never forget this. Like, back then, when you judge, the coaches could like be up in the stands still. And so I put my hands on this sheep, and I looked up at Skaggs, and the look I gave them was probably not nice, but I found the fat sheep, and I was one of the few on my judging team that day that found the fat sheep. And even
you
though
did not listen to your coach,
I did not listen. I did not, and I won sheep. So there you go. I don't think many people these days think it is difficult to judge sheep, and I think a lot of it is because they have gotten so good at getting them fat, but keeping them somewhat hard. And then as much leg wool as they have on them, they can just carve them out to look perfect. So they all look. So I don't know how the other people judge them. I guess just on muscle and look. I don't know.
But the top end all have enough muscle, and their body shape.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how the other people do it. And so that's why for me, it is the one that I enjoy the least. I don't know how the other people do it, but they don't seem to have any issues with it, and that's them. So
I think you could sort them on skeleton and finish, or would be two of my highest priorities right now in market lambs.
Yeah.
There's where our big difference is, if you can find some lean enough and some good enough built. While you're saying that, Ryan, when I'm in a judging contest, in just walking through the classes, those lambs and stanchions that they don't take out and move or anything, those are hard for me. I shouldn't admit this in front of the world, but those are my difficult class. And I see students go up, they bang them out, no problem at all. And I'm scratching my head trying to overthink this thing. I can't find one lean enough, and I can't determine how good built they are as easily as I would like. The market lamb classes in stanchions right now are very difficult for me to sort.
I think that would be tough right now. But so hogs, Dale's favorite species of all time. People laugh at me. I enjoy judging hogs more than any other species, and it is strictly for two reasons. Number one,
I remember what they are. May I guess the two?
Oh,
please?
go right ahead.
Number one, I believe, is the bounce, and number two is where they put their offhand.
No, that is not it. But nice.
Dang.
Thanks.
Dang.
Yeah. Number one, there are more structural differences in hogs than any other species. And like, I'm not saying that all are bad, but the way they move, there are more differences in hogs than any other species. And number two, you can use wilder terms on hogs than you can almost any other species because they are more exaggerated in areas than any other species. And so that's why I like judging them the most. I don't know, because I think hogs is one of those things that there are, or when people ask me to judge a show and I can't, and they want to be all species, like they're like, well, can you recommend somebody? And I'm sitting here, I'm going, I can recommend some people, but I don't think they'll come. But it gets harder to keep people on that list, because I know that there is a lot of people that only judge hogs or don't want to judge hogs. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
And so I find that one the most intriguing, the most enjoyable, whatever. But obviously I'm in the minority. But anytime that I am asked, we need an all species sorter to do this, whatever, the ones that I know that are capable and I'm willing to recommend, a lot of them have jobs that don't allow them to go to a county fair in the middle of the week or whatever. And like finding somebody that can do hogs and everything else is always the problem when asked for recommendations. And so
that's the outlier species of what either they do hogs and only hogs, or they're multi-species but not comfortable in hogs.
Yes. And so I don't know. I don't understand it because I enjoy it so much. But I think that is the one. Like there is very few people that judge hogs at almost any level that do anything else.
Agreed completely. Hogs,
can you explain to me why, sir?
Like we talked about with the goats, they're more concerned about what the hog trend may be and what hog people want them to be, rather than just sorting good livestock. That's as simple as it is for me. And with that, I'm going to confess some mental challenges that I have had sorting hogs. I'm semi-aware. Ryan says he stays aware of where the trends are. I can say that I'm aware of where the trends are, but I'm a little more stubborn sometimes.
And I didn't say I fall for all of them, but I think that if you're going to go out there and do it, you need to at least know what.
No, I'm going down that path. That is fine. My mental challenge is, and it's gotten better over the past year, maybe 2 years, 2, 3, 4 years ago, the hogs that I was looking at in the ring, whether I'm judging or watching a show, if they were on a hard surface, they were so turned in, club-footed is what I called them, up front, that they were, in my mind, if I evaluate them as any species of livestock, skeletally unacceptable. However, the trend was to make them that massive and all those things. And the trend was even to accept that and or ignore it to get everything else. And nobody even talked about it. And 80% of them would come in screwed up so bad on those front feet, it was intolerable. I have a hard time getting past that, even though I'm aware that they're accepting it in general in the hog ring. So that is where a mental challenge comes for me. I have a simple solution to that. If I'm judging a hog show, give me some deep shaving so I don't focus on it. Because I can't avoid it. And it's better now than it was. But that is a challenge for me. That because of that, there are times that makes it as challenging as a lamb show. Because I get so hung up that it's not right, even though it's being accepted. And I understand why. They've got a lot of big pieces coming, but that's not where I fall on skeleton. I guess that's the one thing that I have a very difficult time sacrificing for the big pieces.
I do. You bring up a point, and it's maybe a completely different podcast topic or whatever, but I do think that the surface you show hogs on
changes the outcome night and day.
Okay, exactly. And I don't think you can
Nobody
say that
talks about it.
I don't think you can say that in any other species to that level.
A little bit in cattle with the rear pasterns issue, but you can still find
not
it.
to the level like in hogs.
I can remember,
and that may be a completely different podcast.
So you remember the showdown in Iowa we did a couple years ago? I don't even know which one it was. That the pigs would come into the ring off of concrete into the deep shavings, and you tried to make sure I did not look at them on the concrete because
I wanted a blindfold.
Yes. And I can remember years ago at the old Indiana State Fair pig barn, they'd have 4 or 5 foot of concrete in front of the holding pens, the bare concrete, no shavings. And then they would drop off this ledge into dirt or shavings. And those judges would use that concrete in the breeding shows specifically. I remember watching when those open breeding hog shows in Indiana were so big and the sales were so powerful. They would have them walk down that concrete for a little while just to get a good look at those feet and legs. That would be a challenge today.
Yeah, no, but
huge difference on what that's. I mean, that surface. If I'm taking a hog to a show, that surface dictates the show ring material, shavings, dirt, hard, whatever that is. That dictates exactly what hog I take.
Oh, it would me too.
And I'm with you. I don't think people realize how big of an impact that has. I'm guilty. When those shavings are deep, I would rather not look at all those terrible front legs and just pretend, because when I see them, I can't use them. Cannot use them.
And then I guess the one species that we haven't talked about, which is cattle, I think that maybe just because it's been around since God was a boy, I don't know. I just think that by and large, everybody thinks that cattle is probably the easiest thing to judge. And I don't know how that started, where it comes from. Maybe because, up until recently, they were the ones that had the most hair and had the most clippings, so we can carve them into anything that we want them to look like. That to the masses.
And the most experienced fitters and managers seem to be in the cattle ring for many. I'm not saying now, but for years.
Right. I'm just saying. And so maybe that is what has made them be perceived as the easiest to judge, because a lot of it on some level is based on the clip job. Like, you can tell a really good clip job from an average clip job to a bad clip job. I don't know. But I do think that cattle has always kind of been the one that everybody thinks is the easiest to judge. And other than goats, which I think the thing with me on cattle is, depending on the level of the show, where the top and the middle, there's more of a blur there. I mean, there's going to be the elite, but the top end towards the middle, it kind of all just kind of runs together there. And so it takes a little more studying and stuff like that. But I don't know. Everybody seems to think that cattle are the easiest, and I've never quite got that. I can only assume it's because of the hair and the clipping and the fitting.
I think possibly, and there may be something else to it. And I agree, definitely, when they're presented well, it makes it easier. In that presentation, you'd made a comment that you judged a goat show, I believe, this past weekend. I want to be careful. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But I think it ties into this. We talked about goats being easy to sort. There's differences. It's not hard. They fall apart or they sort into their places pretty quickly. There is one issue that I find in the goat show that will relate to exactly what you're talking about in the cattle show. Goats, no matter how much we work with some of them at home, when they get in that ring, they won't walk, period. And when they're not presenting themselves, if they want to pull down, it looks like no matter how good that goat is, if he's not cooperating on the lead for whatever reason, and more times than not, it's not because they didn't put time into it. That goat is just being stubborn, and more so than any other species we deal with. When they're pulling down or fighting the chain or halter, they're going to look peacey, period. And when you can't get a good walk out of one of them, even though when it stops and stands naturally, and when it's set up, it's killer, it's hard to figure out where that animal goes. I believe you said you had one that you took as far as you could, and you couldn't take it all the way because you couldn't get a good true evaluation on the move.
Oh, yeah, like the reserve grand goat this last. I mean, I think he's big time good, but I've never experienced one that just absolutely tried to beat themselves as hard as this goat did. I mean,
Yeah.
would not lead.
And you
would not-
feel for that exhibitor.
No, because I've seen the boy show other ones. It's not him. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It is not the kid. It is just this idiot creature. I mean, I literally said, I said, if this thing was mine, I'd beat him into submission. I don't know how, but I would beat him into submission. I'd have to, because he's so good. And like I said, I made him reserve grand. I told everybody, I said, anybody that gets beat by this goat's going to be mad, and I get it, and I understand it, and they have a right to, but I know how good this thing is if it just ever submit at all. But yeah, that's part of it.
So with that, when we talk about, and I agree with you, I believe the perception is cattle are easier to sort, and I would not argue that at all. But most cattle are broke to lead pretty well. If not, we have a ring person that can twist a tail, and they're going to go. So you're going to get a pretty good evaluation on the move when they're on halters versus maybe a goat on a chain or other factors. I think we get a more natural movement when we have them on a halter and we can see how they're walking naturally. With a goat on a halter or a chain, some of them are going to fight it, regardless of what you're using. On a lamb, when you have your hand under their chin, pulling back because maybe they want to go faster, you're encouraging them to go faster, that hand on their head, to me, inhibits their natural movement to a certain degree. I'm not saying we need to do things differently, but I can assure you, if I had an average person showing one with their hand under the chin and one that had one, a little kid just walking it on the halter, I can probably evaluate that skeleton better if it's walking freely on the halter than being challenged a little bit and directed with that hand on its chin. And in the cattle ring, I think it's easier to see those things depending on what the bedding or the show ring bedding is. And then they're fairly, I guess it's simpler. We don't have the animal obstacles or the stubbornness necessarily. And the way we show them, they're presented in a fairly natural manner on the move. And even when we set them up, a little bit awkward, but not bad. It's easier. I don't know how to explain that, but because of the way they're presented, it's easier for me to see that. When we build legs on steers or you have a lot of leg hair, we still clip them in to be more natural looking than we'd say the lamb ring, if that makes sense.
Correct.
What you're seeing is it's easier to evaluate.
No, and that's what I said. I think a lot of it, I think it has less to do with the quality of the animals, and I think it has more to do with everything, like you said. For the large part, they're cooperative, they lead, the clipping and the grooming and the fitting, all of that plays into it, and I think that's why, for the most part, cattle is perceived as the easiest to judge.
And I think some of that presentation and management almost leads you as a judge subconsciously.
Yeah,
if it's professionally fitted, they put some effort into it, and you give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes. I'm not saying it's right, but it's happening. So my biggest challenge, just like I talked about the club feed and those front feet on pigs that turned in for several years, I think it's been very popular the past couple of years in the steer ring to find the biggest pieces possible, and that sells. And with the younger judges, that wins. Even if those big pieces, big hair, big old upper hip, whatever big featured, comes with problems. And that's where my dilemma comes into play. We can have these big featured steers in the ring, that all too often are tracking so narrow behind and so bad in terms of their skeleton that when you put them into motion, it just doesn't work. Yet, if you prop them up, they've got those great big giant pieces that have been selling and winning under some of the young judges. Those are hard to find a home for. They're not going to go first with me. Do they belong second, third, fourth? Depending on the class, those are hard. And I'm not against those big features. We try to breed for them in our goats every single day. But you have to give me a skeletal build. You have to give me enough muscular shape and enough finish that I believe they're going to grade or have a chance to grade, and then tag on all those big features. The difficulty is when we select for the biggest features possible, we're going to sacrifice something. You can't make those changes as quickly as what we'd like to as breeders. Would I like the biggest legs, the freakiest neck, the roundest body, all those things on one? Absolutely. If their skeleton's right, if they have enough true muscle shape. And I usually see great big tops on these steers, or appear to have great big tops. But as you put them into motion and stand behind them, they funnel down to about 2 inches apart when their hind legs are moving away from you. And that bothers me. And it bothers me when they don't have the skeleton to go. But just like those lambs, they've done such a good job fitting and hair presentation. When they're propped up, they look deadly. And I think there's a big difference out there among judges. That propped up one, even if he doesn't move, if he has the big pieces, some are going to run with. The next one's going to put him third. And that's the only difficulty that I run into that I would say makes sorting steers challenging today.
Yep. No, I get it. So,
Mr. Skeleton, you like to see him move.
Yes. Well, and
even if the trend's accepting him a little off for those big pieces.
Like I said, I stay up on the trends. It doesn't mean I go with it. I just want to be aware of what they are. And speaking of trends, people are very mad that we didn't do trending again so far. But, whatever.
Done them 53 times.
Twice. But anyhow, we've talked about all the species and stuff like that. And I think it's been interesting. And I guess the way that I can sum this up is I get a lot of questions about how I judge and when I judge and all this stuff. So they're like, how do you do it so fast? And I'm not trying to speed race through it or anything like that. I'm just not. But I'm telling you, because structure is the greatest priority of mine. And I also know that I can read everything about that animal truer and more correctly when they are on the move than when they are stopped. That
I think that's a compliment to the showman and the fitters.
Yes, absolutely it is. But
they can do such a good job presenting them.
Right. And so I can read everything about that animal, whether it's muscle or look or anything, all those things more accurately and more correctly on the move. They walk in and I know what's going to happen. And that's just how I am. That's how my mind works. I don't know. And I tell people that and they give me this look like I've lost my mind, but they ask, so I just tell them the honest response. But there you go.
I like it. So I think that covers most of the species. I was going to circle back into the hog ring, but I've totally lost track as usual, distracted and forgot what direction I was going to take there. But in general, so the perception, Ryan, you're telling us perception would be what order as far as easiest to most difficult, not your order.
I think perception, it would go goats are the most difficult, followed by hogs, then sheep, then cattle.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So, and your perception is?
I think that by far the easiest is goats. I think that cattle and hogs are kind of interchangeable. And then I think sheep are, and I'm not saying difficult, but I think it requires more studying, I guess.
That's a good way to put it, I think. I would agree with your order. I'm there. I probably have cattle over pig.
And so, like I said, and probably the reason I say cattle and pigs are interchangeable is I would think that, for me, they're interchangeable just because I enjoy judging hogs so much, but I don't think that there are many people other than me that would say that. I think that everybody would pretty much think that cattle are easier to judge than pigs. But
So I have, depending on the surface those hogs are shown on, if they're shown in deep shavings, it's honestly easier for me because I'm not hyper focused on the issues, and because you can ignore them and get away with it, if that makes sense.
mm-hmm.
And it's hard to see it if they're deep. You're going to have to work really hard to see all those differences. So they flip around. You bring hogs to me on a hard surface, I can see the differences easily, but all of a sudden you're struggling to find one that you think is built good enough to use.
No, I can't disagree with that at all.
Are you ready? It is time.
Mm-hmm.
Question and answer.
Oh boy.
I would like to introduce Round Barn Promotions. This is a sister company to Interglobe Sire Service right here in East Central Illinois. Round Barn Promotions can help you with awards, stall banners, hats, jackets, and much more. One-stop shop for gear and anything related to the stock show industry. Reach out to Round Barn Promotions today. You can find them on Facebook or call 815-844-3733. Thank you, Round Barn Promotions, for your support of the junior stock show world. The first one is very long.
Oh, good.
I have my daughter Katie and I have mild dyslexia. We cannot read to save our ass. So I'm going to shorten, paraphrase all of the above. McKaylee presents the question. Dale and Ryan, I have searched through many county fairs, state fairs, national shows, and jackpot rules to find one that matches what our local county fair does. Right there, Ryan tells you a lot, doesn't it? It's a county fair, and they just don't play by the other rules. They may not know. They may be stubborn. I don't know why. But basically what she is saying, and I'm gonna condense this dramatically. They are not allowed to use straw as bedding. They're not allowed to feed hay in the barn because of some fire code is what they're claiming. I don't know if it's a fire code or a stubborn county fair board. She says, well, I assume these are lambs or goats and they're stalled near cattle. The cattle are allowed to feed hay in the barn, not use straw for bedding. But if you have a lamb or a goat, you have to take them outside to feed them hay. So a lot of people aren't feeding them hay, and it's causing digestive issues in the rumen and pH issues, a lot of these things, but their show will not allow that. Her question is, she cannot find any other show in the world that has these type of rules in place. How does she combat that when the board and the superintendents are not listening to her, even when she says the health of the animal is basically at stake?
Well, if she's already taken this to the board and presented her case or whatever, which I guess I didn't read the question, so maybe that's what you're saying she has.
She has, yes. She's already exhausted all of her path that she's aware she can take.
Then I'd be taking I would either be in the barn real late at night feeding my sheep and goat hay if I wanted to when nobody was
or take them outside to feed them the hay. That is an option. I'm not saying it's ideal.
See, I didn't know. That was the next thing I was going to ask. Can you go to the cattle barn and feed your? Because she said the cattle people can have hay. I said, so yes. Can you take your sheep to the cattle barn?
You can just take them outside, I believe, and feed it. So there's solutions, and my fear is
that's what I'm doing then.
Yeah, Michaela, I'm afraid it may not even be up to the board. It may be the darn fire marshal issue, and you're not going to explain something different to them, is my assumption. I could be way wrong. And she did make the assertion that maybe the cattle were even the same barn, but they were allowing them to consume hay. So that complicates the issue even more. I'm not real sure on the clarity of that. It does sound like an odd. I have not heard of that one before. Have you?
No, I have not.
Maybe restricted on what bedding you can use, but not.
No, I've heard. I have seen rules that restrict what type of bedding you use. I've been to shows that if you feed hay, you have to clean it up yourself, or you get fined or something. Like I've seen all those, but not just to absolutely cannot do it. Whatever. Like I said, I would find a way to circumvent the rules. Either go to the cattle barn and feed my thing, hey there, or whatever, but I'd find a way around it.
Agreed. Ryan, I asked you earlier if when I came across this question, I feel like maybe I've read it just before searching for Q&As for the podcast, or we've already discussed this one. So if we have, I apologize to our listeners, but Ryan and I do not specifically recall addressing this one. And this one comes to us anonymous. As always, love the podcast. Listening to the most recent one and wanted to write in regarding suffix. If judges and classifiers would actually use the breed standard, they might look like suffix in the ring again. Suffix are pretty simple, clean-legged and headed. My question for both of you is, will you take breed standards into consideration when judging, or do you just judge what's in front of you as what they're telling you it is? I think we've had this one, Ryan, or we've discussed this before.
I don't...
Not suffix, but...
Okay, see, the suffix part, I don't ever remember because I would have remembered the clean-headed, clean-legged thing.
True. So I think it's new.
Now, we have had this type of question before on the
more general
classification of it all. Do you take breed character?
Remember, you had a shorthorn that was, not very long ago. We had one that didn't maybe look like a traditional shorthorn.
Well, we were talking about stuff, and I said, yes, that the day before we recorded that day, there was a silver shorthorn on the Pulse as a reserve champion at a very large state fair. And I was like, I don't know how that happens, but.
So I guess the question is, as a judge, if they're in the ring and they're allowed to show in that class, are you going to do anything about it?
Well, I can only say for me, I think it depends the level of how little breed character they have, because every situation is different. You know, a lot of these shows at the jackpot level are classify your own. They don't have classifiers, stuff like this. And so you're going to go out there. Hog Show, I'll give 2 examples. Hog Show that I recently judged, Yorks come in, one class, and there's a blue butt in the York class.
Not just a couple spots.
No, we're talking about a
blue butt.
Yeah, I mean, did not have any on the eyes or the head, but yes, it was more than a couple spots on the hog's rear. And the show officials look at me and whatever, and so anyway, at that particular show, pinned and placed the top 5. That animal didn't get to make the top 5 under me.
If it was not a blue butt, would it have?
I'd say yeah. I'm going to be honest. I'd say probably yeah. It wouldn't have won the class, but it would have made the top 5 because it didn't. Steer show that I judged just here recently. There's an American. We've got American steers out there. I think that one is questionable if it will ever classify at a major show. I said that I wanted it to have more breed character, but it ends up being reserved in that breed in the Americans. So I think every situation is different. Like I said, a blue bud in a York class is a touch too far for me. When I think one is questionable, but I'm not gonna, say there's just no way in hell that one can classify, then probably gonna. I mean, like I said, I called it out for that. Ideally, I'd like to see it have more American breed character, but I still let it be reserved. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's all I can give you as examples.
Agreed. So good. Hopefully that every judge can be different, but that's where we are. Little Timmy submits a question. You know who Little Timmy is?
No, I don't know who Little Timmy is.
Ryan, I have heard 0 Shrek stories. You had one today.
I just gave a Shrek story.
You knew this was coming, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I just gave a Shrek story.
May I ask for an update on your amazing mother?
I thought I just talked about Shrek the other week, too.
It's been a little while.
Anyway, well, she's no longer flying because people read Arabic in the planes.
And she's been taking a lot of vacations, you tell me.
Oh, I did talk about her because I talked about it on the cruise. How the woman just happened. I have to give like a detailed itinerary of every hour of
You
where
did
I'm
mention
going to
it.
be. And she just like, I'm leaving the house on a Friday to go fly out to judge some show. All right, I'll be back Monday. Bye, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Oh, well, we're going on a cruise for a week and a half. I forgot to tell you. Yeah, y'all people don't understand. No.
She is such a good mother.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's crazy, but
She is very
she's
good
still
to you.
she's still here. She's still kicking, and don't believe any of the stuff she puts on Facebook. The gallbladder surgery, what all that other stuff. Yeah, no, just don't. She's
Is she
fine.
recovered from her surgery?
Yeah. Obviously, she went on a cruise 3 days later.
Well, that's good.
Uh-huh. Now she's
Very
in
positive.
California, not flying because of Arabic, and I don't know. I'm sure
I suspect she will forget about that and fly again soon.
It's fixing to be Christmas, so she's got 27 parties to go to. So,
and does she not put on a Christmas party each year?
Yeah, thank God I judge shows and I don't have to go to that.
Do you have a date to make sure you have a show then?
Well, yes. I promise you, my biggest goal in life is to make sure that every Saturday and Sunday of December is filled up with shows, so I cannot attend.
If needed, you will judge for free on a given weekend.
Yes, but
I am not the most social person in those type of events, so I have to. I'm kind of with you on this.
Oh, I'm out.
And the
She's
average
alive,
age of the
she's
Christmas,
kicking.
the average age of the Christmas party would be
972.
That's what I thought. Wonderful, excellent topic today, Ryan, that you came up with here a day or so ago, and enjoyable. Good. I think it was good talk, good conversation. I hope the listeners enjoy it. If nothing else, are entertained by it. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?